to live, one life to give, one moment, one opportunity. Boy, that's it, and it's all said and done. When the going gets tough and the tough gets going, you just go ahead and run. Cause opinions are like assholes, everybody has one. They're being constructive or they jealous of the outcome. It's not about the times you fail, it's about the times you got up. And I don't even care what the fuck your excuses is. Fact is, you just blame the cause of foolishness. What you think I'm doing, you gotta get up, get going and just move on. Don't look towards the past, you gotta groove on. You procrastinating now, you gotta get that motivation. I already created a track called Inspiration. Gotta get up, get going and get fucking hype. Go ahead, kid, go ahead and live your life with no regrets, no regard all the fucking time. Cause I'm telling you, if you keep going, you go on. End up in the same spot you've been in all your fucking life now. Tell me now who's winning. Opinions are like assholes, everybody.
Whoop, whoop. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Wrestling Talk Now. It is, of course, Thursday. That means we will bring you basically what we liked and disliked about the wrestling world this week. And I do not have my co-host with me, but I have someone better, a man who can do the job for two hosts. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Jeff T. How goes it, good sir?
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for joining me. I felt isolated without any of my co-hosts there, and I said, you know what? Let me give Jeff a call.
I help out when I can.
No, fair enough. Thank you kindly for joining me today. And so we usually do, the recap of the wrestling week and whatever have you. But since neither of my co-hosts like to show up, we can really be bouncing around on what you have seen during this week in wrestling. And we're referring to, I guess, from SmackDown last Friday to the last thing would have been AEW Dynamite. And of course, any big wrestling news you might have heard. And basically, we're gonna shoot the shit, if you will, about
good.
wrestling and what's going on. So I, for the life of me, cannot remember what honestly happened on SmackDown or Raw. Naomi, I guess the only thing I remember is Naomi's getting a title match next week, which she's going to lose. Oh, well, of course we had Rousey's stupid promos. Did you by any chance catch the highlights of Ronda Rousey being on Raw, then on SmackDown?
I don't know, man. I mean, I think she's gone past that big pop. Like in a sense, what I mean by that is when she first showed up, I think people knew it was coming because, she showed up at WrestleMania. I think, was it a year or two prior her debuting, if I'm not mistaken, the first time around?
Yeah, about 2-3 years.
Yeah, so it's just like, yeah, she got her pop, and then it's like, okay, she showed up at the Royal Rumble. I'm like, I don't know. I never found her to be that great to be honest with you. And I don't like Ronda Rousey to begin with. I hated her as a fighter.
Did you? Okay.
Yes, I almost actually broke my television the first time she got knocked out because I was excited that she got knocked out and I tripped over something. I almost went right into my TV. But I think listen, they brought her in because they probably figured, hey, this is a good opportunity to pop the women's division because I guess they figured Charlotte and Becky Lynch couldn't do it themselves.
Right.
So they had a great run, and I'll give her credit the fact that she did her job in the sense that she put attention on the women's matches, and she's had some pretty decent matches too. And I'll give her that. But it's just I think it wore off really fast, and look what happened. She disappeared for a year and a half, and now she comes.
2 years.
Okay, 2 years, yeah. So she comes back now, and it's kind of like, meh. I don't know. That's the way I think of it. Yeah, she had her big pop, and I don't know. For me, that's my opinion. I feel like it's and I see Casey saying Rousey blows. Yeah, well, There you
I
go.
mean, it's a yeah. I mean, and look, I think a lot of the wrestling fan base, anyways, would agree with that. I don't necessarily maybe agree with the fact that they needed something to make the women's division more entertaining. We did around that time still have Bex at her top notch. We had the whole Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks craziness of feuds. Um, Perhaps you weren't interested by them, but I wouldn't say Rousey. I think that's giving Rousey way too much credit that she doesn't deserve. She certainly did a lot for women in professional sports. That I'll give you, but in terms of what the WWE was doing with women at the time, not so much per se. But I do agree with everything else. Pointless, and she doesn't care, bro. Have you seen her? Her little promos, she's all like nonchalant and very like,
Yeah, she. I don't think she ever gave a shit. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
but she was angrier before, right? Am I
Well, I think.
crazy? Like, wasn't
Well, I mean, she was turning heel at least towards the end. It looked like she was gonna go heel. So maybe I kind of understood like what you said that she seemed a little bit getting angrier.
mm,
But I don't know, man. It's like I mean, it's off track of wrestling, but I kind of lost respect for her a little bit after her first loss in the UFC when she went on national television saying that she thought of committing suicide. And it's kind of like, well, you're all for women's rights, and you're all for, not women's right, but like boosting up women's morale. And
mm,
one of the things that a lot of influential people talk about is that when you lose, the key to success is how you get back up, right?
right,
And you go on national television saying that I'm crying and think I'm going to kill myself, and it's kind of like, and you transition to WWE, who is obviously let's remember now they're a PG company,
right.
so it's like, what kind of message are you sending there? You know what I mean? And if people don't believe me, you can look up the clip, check Ronda Rousey Ellen, and you'll find it. So it's just,
Wow. Okay.
oh yeah, you'll find it. Yeah, it's just I found her, and it's like even if she were to go back to USC too, it's like she'll get the pop, win or lose, whatever, and then she'll probably go off and live on her. I think she's living on a farm now or something, or wherever the hell she lives.
Right. Well,
But
she has a big acreage and all that, or she just stick to playing your Nintendo Switch with your Metroid Dread and
yeah,
whatever.
she's
Do
a
that for
YouTube, she's a streamer
fundraisers.
now. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Have you? There's reason for this. Have you been following Celebrity Big Brother?
Uh, Very little. I think I saw the first episode, but yeah.
Okay, so Misha Tate is on it, right? And
Right.
on I think the last episode or like whatever, just one of the last few episodes, Misha Tate actually talked about Ronda Rousey. She mentioned she just said Ronda, but she didn't say anything else. But she was saying how Misha's more story is more along the side of she has just only a single parent. Her mom had to do and sacrifice so much. Ronda was kind of just given everything. I'm
Right.
definitely I'm sugarcoating it a bit, but she said something along those lines, and do remember reading in Rousey's book as well that she does because she trains so hard and whatever. She definitely takes loss. She's a little bit of a sore loser in terms of taking an L. And but when you're a champion, like as you were on UFC, you were what for 2 years, maybe I want to say it was a
I
good
think she was
while,
like maybe 12-0 or 14-0 before she lost her first fight, something like that.
something like that. And then really, she just lost another one too, and then she just left, right?
She lost two in a row, and then she disappeared and went to wrestling. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So, I mean, Nunez, I guess, is experiencing that similar fate. She had just lost her
Yeah.
match after being undefeated for so long. So, I'm curious to see how
Right.
Nunez takes that. Uh, but we're definitely going off topic, but it's still all within the confines of um, why WWE. Well, in reality, I don't think WWE, like if you put Ronda Rousey on Google, that Ellen show isn't going to show up maybe for like another 3, 4, 5 pages kind of thing, unless you inadamantly put Ronda Rousey, Ellen, kill myself kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Well, my
Um,
my question my question I ask is, as far as maybe the motive of why you came back. Um, was was the product so is your women's product or your product in general so bad that you needed that pop? So it's almost like if I don't think the women's division is going to necessarily benefit for her from her that much being back that much because you know who she's pretty much going to work with. You know, I mean, it's going to
Right.
be a combination of Becky, uh, of Charlotte, and I guess now I've been hearing about it on YouTube sometimes. Maybe some interaction with Shayna Baszler, which makes sense, right? Because they're friends in real life.
I
So,
would love for that to happen. It should have happened at the Rumble. God damn it.
but the thing is that even if it were to happen, I mean, either one of them doesn't really give that great of a promo to begin with, in my opinion.
Nope, that's valid.
I mean, yes, Shayna has had a little bit more experience with pro wrestling than Ronda is, so maybe Shayna could give a overall better match. You
Right.
know, when you look at it, but I think the only story they would try to tell with that is like, oh, it's friends fighting wrestling against each other. You know, like
Mm-hmm.
that's the story you would go in that regard. Yeah, but otherwise, I almost think that maybe WWE viewed it as their numbers are going down, so they figured, hey, we need a kick in the ass, even as far as I don't think they give a shit about pay per view buy rates anymore because it's all network driven.
Right.
So maybe it's just like, okay, here, let's go for the cheap. It's almost like a it's like almost like a cheap pop the way I view it as. It's like, here, let's throw in the Rumble because obviously there was no surprise in the men's because having Brock Lesnar come out and win was just like, okay,
Well, I mean, there
whatever.
was Shane McMahon.
Yeah, but now Shane's released.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's released, so what? No, I don't know how that's gonna work out, but yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, just
But I mean,
maybe.
I was gonna say though, along those lines, like, yeah, they don't need necessarily big stars. Clearly, Rousey is so. There's rumors that Rousey is gonna be there for a year, right? So it's not
Okay.
just gonna be originally thought as, oh, it's gonna be for WrestleMania, and then that's it. She's gone again. Apparently, she's gonna be there for a year and do stuff. So clearly, they brought her back to help promote WrestleMania. That's their big thing. But then, like you
Yeah.
had just mentioned, yeah, WrestleMania is the granddaddy of them all, but do they really necessarily um, care about pay per view buys and so on? I guess maybe more so they do for that because WrestleMania does bring a lot to the city. So maybe it's more of a business standpoint. We
Oh, it's
promote
ticket
this.
ticket sales. Yeah, ticket sales and merch.
Yeah, ticket sales and merch, which we see them go off and on. Well, I guess for merch, they're more susceptible to wanting to keep that for sure. But for tickets, like we've seen the half full arenas and all that. So I imagine you still won't have issues selling WrestleMania, especially after, well, I mean, after kind of the pandemic has come and gone. They did it last year, but that was really touch base. Where this year is going to be a full fledged year where they can actually do Mania, no problem. They've had crowds for a while. But definitely it's for sure a cheap pop, like you mentioned, for Rousey being at Mania. Unfortunately, going to face Flair, which I'm really not down for.
Although
I
there'll be
think
some kind of a three-way again. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I put
a
money
three
down
way
on
with
it
who
being a
though?
three-way again. Becky again. I
No,
mean, would it be surprising? Would it be surprising they would do that again?
yes, because Becky has the Raw title. So unless I guess do you know who Becky is facing at Elimination Chamber?
I thought it was
Is
Ronda.
she
I
even
figured it was
facing?
Ronda. I would kind of think that after the interaction they had on Raw, that where Ronda kind of like threw her on her back, I thought she would face Ronda, but I'm not really sure.
Lita, no? I think it's Lita. She's facing Lita at
Oh, that's it.
Elimination
Yeah,
Chamber.
yeah. You're right. You're right.
So,
Sorry,
and Lita's not going to win. I mean,
I wouldn't think so.
it would be different, mind you. I wouldn't see it coming. Let's Yeah, that's it. Thanks, Casey. Always got my back. Yeah, so I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess they can do what they're kind of doing with Brock and Roman, right? Brock wants to win the title at Elimination Chamber, and Roman has the title, and he wants it title versus title kind of thing. Um, they're
That's
they're
clear.
re-
That's clear. Yeah, that's clear. That's what they're
they're
going for. Title versus
they're
title.
they're running the same storyline technically for both the men and the women for the championships in that regard.
But
Um,
how long have they been doing that? I mean, it's like it's almost like the same when you say the same old crap. It's almost synonymous with WWE lately because that's exactly what it is. I mean,
no,
you
it
can't
really
avoid
is.
it. Yeah,
It hasn't changed, I want to say, for the last 5 years. I want to say
agreed. Yeah.
we've had some good surprises in between certain times, but they don't last long enough to know what we should actually do. Really, since I would say since Bray Wyatt, it has nothing to do with Bray Wyatt, but from what I can recall, since Bray Wyatt became a thing,
Well, look
he
what they did
became
to
a
Bray.
character.
Look what they did with him. I mean, they
Yeah,
repackaged him like what 3 times, and now
yeah,
they got rid of a perfectly good talent because of budget cuts. You know,
right.
air quotes,
Yeah,
budget cuts. But it's just I don't know. It's confusing. I was actually thinking about it earlier, just before we came on the air. I almost wonder if they're just trying to ride the wave, and like I don't know if I was on the show when you guys spoke about it, but about the potential sale of WWE, like if there would be a buyer to come out. It's almost like if
right,
they're just riding the wave and there's something in the works, whether it's going to be Fox, whether it's going to be NBC Universal, which would make sense because of Peacock and
right.
WWE Network. It's almost like if
Or Disney.
they're just coasting along, and then whoever comes in buys the company is gonna, Stephanie and Triple H throw them out. They're gonna put in their own people, like maybe a guy like Nick Khan might stick around. I just get the feeling that they're just riding the wave, and then there's gonna be a huge, obviously a news bulletin that's coming out. Oh my God, WWE has been sold, which is gonna give
Right.
them a big pop, which is what it seems like they're always looking for, is that next big pop, because
Right.
that's what it would be when you think about it. What could be the next big thing, no pun intended, that they could look towards and say, like a holy shit moment, right? It would be that. The only thing that's worthy of it is really that the sale of the company, and that's I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, if your product is okay, now I'm saying this. If I was gonna say if the product is that shit, and your attendance isn't great, your merchandising sales isn't as good as it used to be. Um, you know what I mean? These things, I would think would be troublesome when a company wants to buy your product completely and buy you out. With that said, WWE did make $1 billion in revenue, I think it was last year.
Hmm.
But that's obviously with all the cuts that they also did last year. You know what I mean? That's
Exactly. I
not
mean, when you're
necessarily the full billion, but that's the Peacock thing. That's that. So a lot of it is just a masquerade, if you will. It's just it has nothing to do necessarily with why they made money because of the product. It's more so of the business deals that Nick Khan has done, and Nick Khan has mentioned that, hey, you got to look more of it as a multimedia deal, and then of course the Disney thing in Indonesia. Disney owns the WWE network or is allowed to publish the WWE network on their app in Indonesia. So all of these crazy things are happening. It's almost like Nick Khan is just expanding it to wherever he can to make WWE known. And that's what he is there for. And he's doing his job. And clearly Vince doesn't mind. Um, but
well,
I don't know.
they've been making their money regardless. Whether the product, you can say what you want about the product, and we can sit here for hours talking about how crappy the product's been, with
Right.
moments of greatness, I guess you can say. But
Right.
at the end of the day, it's like I think they're just satisfied with whatever money they make, whether it be from advertising, like you said, merch, ticket sales, over international. I mean, I think it's safe to say that with all the international trips they've done, bringing in someone to make it more world renowned, I don't think changes much, because I think WWE did a good enough job years before Nick Khan came on board. You know, I mean, with all the overseas trips that they did and stuff like that. So I just I don't know. I think, like I said, I think they're just riding the wave. They're content with the amount of money they're making, and whatever happens, happens. Whether there's a sale that is imminent in the near future, and I guess
Mhm.
you just see where it goes from there. Because as far as the product is concerned, they kind of go back to how we're reflecting on the product. I mean, there's nothing really that memorable you could say about every show except for little moments here and there where you're like, oh, okay, that was pretty good, or that was pretty good, you know?
Oh, KO had a good match, or Seth Rollins was funny. He had a crazy good suit, kind of thing. There's certain little specks of greatness because that wrestler when given the opportunity to. Like, why aren't you doing anything with Seth? Why aren't you doing anything with KO? Why aren't you? You know what I mean? Like it, or why not do something a little bit more with Bobby? I don't mind Bobby as a champion. It makes sense for him, but it's got to stop being the same old, like you mentioned. One company who is taking advantage of WWE's same old, of course, is AEW.
Yeah.
Um, so on Dynamite, we first heard that Nick Khan was mentioning about the Forbidden Door event. The Forbidden Door will be open tonight. Wasn't saying much else, and everyone was speculating. There was names here, names there, names everywhere, from Keith Lee to Cody Rhodes. This would be Cody Rhodes' ultimate heel turn, to Bray Wyatt, to Karrion Kross, to Jeff Hardy, but his contract isn't up yet. But Matt Hardy did mention Jeff Hardy was coming soon. So that's going to be dope. But we ultimately saw, I guess before we saw the big surprise, we were almost a little swerved because we had then saw, I'm going to botch this, Jay White.
Jay
Was
White.
it Jay White?
Jay White.
Yeah. The New Japan guy who's in Bullet
Yeah.
Club. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never
I
watched
kind
those
of
big
thought
matches, so I don't know.
that was going to be the guy to face Isaiah Cassidy and the face of the Revolution qualifier.
Right.
The fact that it was Keith Lee was interesting. It was cool.
Yeah.
I think that's a guy that although I didn't see much of him in WWE, I always thought that the times I saw him, it's like, okay, the guy can move around. He's a big guy that's like very Bam Bam Bigelow esque in the sense that he's a
You
big guy that can move around. You know,
That's fair. That's a good comparison. You never watched his NXT stuff?
a little bit here and there. I mean, to be
Okay.
honest with you, I thought he had a good character. Um, I know I have been reading a lot online. I actually, when you bring up Karrion Kross, I think because I remember seeing a podcast he did with Rene Paquette, where he was kind of
Okay.
almost hinting that there's something coming up. Like he did a podcast with him and his wife Scarlett. That's her
Hmm.
name, Scarlett Bordeaux.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he's close. I wouldn't be surprised if he
Right.
would be close, waiting for maybe the 90 day to come up, or I might be already up there. I'm not
I
really
think they're
sure.
already done. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the addition to Keith Lee is good, but the slight concern I do have with that is like you're bringing in all this talent, and what's good. I remember Tony Khan. I think he reading a quote from him is that it's going to help us in the short term and in the long term. In the long term, being are they going to extend Rampage to 2 hours eventually, which would give an extra hour to feature this talent, which would make sense because you bringing in all this talent and it's just like, okay, well, 1 week this guy might not be on Dynamite, but he'll be on Rampage, or vice versa, and intertwine all these storylines, which is what they've been doing, because like
Right.
so that makes sense. But I think bringing in all this extra talent, granted, calculated talent in the sense that, hey, we're not just going to bring any Joe Schmo that got released from WWE. If it makes
Right.
sense bringing them in, it makes sense. So I think
Correct.
Karrion Kross, or Killer Kross as he was known in Impact, would make sense as the next guy. Having guys from New Japan come in and out like Jay White, okay, that's cool. Jay White's a great
Mhm.
talent. I mean, he's a great wrestler. I think he's really, really good. Um, so it was really really cool to see. I liked seeing Keith Lee. I mean, I thought the match was great. First of all, we spoke about this off the air. I thought the entire show was great.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
aside from Jade's match, I think that's more so because there was just so much going on throughout the show, and Jade's match just kind of perhaps got lost in the shuffle. They really don't know how to promote or where to put the women's wrestling to the point where we're gonna like they did good on Rampage when they had Jade at the main event. But
Yeah.
aside from that, man, everything from MJF starting it with him being carried down to the ring. Um, that ultimately tag match that they set up where we then found out it was CM Punk versus Moxley, which is
And Moxley.
a tag. Yeah, CM Punk and
Yeah.
John Moxley, which is I never thought would have been an actual tag team ever. And that was really a pleasant surprise and a great match. It was a
Oh my God, that was really really. I mean, you get FTR that I think don't get their due. I mean, they do, but I mean, I think they don't get enough
right.
respect, and they're because I think they're a great
I
tag
think
team.
easily best tag team in the world. I am confident
Yeah.
enough to
Oh,
say that. It's a bold
I put them
statement, but
I put them over the Young Bucks any day. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
any day. But I think that match was awesome. I think as far as Jade is concerned, I mean, listen, she just won the belt. You're not going to have her wrestle top tier women's talent right now. Who eventually would take the belt off of her remains to be seen. I mean, I thought Ruby was going to win it from the beginning, but I almost thought that now she kind of almost rekindled her feud with Britt Baker.
Brit, right,
So I would think that maybe that would be an avenue that Ruby would take. It will go after Britt. Maybe with I don't know how the finish would be exactly. Maybe interference because what's the other girl's name? Not Rebel. Jamie Hayter. Maybe Jamie Hayter turning on Britt, causing Britt to lose, and you can kind of set up a feud like that, so on and so forth. So even though I understand what you mean that they might not know how to place the women, but there's so many different avenues they could go that
right.
makes sense that could still remain entertaining because they do have entertaining women to watch. You know what I mean?
They do. I mean,
You know,
aside from Brit and Ruby, I think and Nyla, I think another woman that's really kind of at least giving us a gimmick to work with is Serena Deeb.
oh
I
yeah.
think Serena Deeb is like every time I see her, I'm just more intrigued and more intrigued. And now, wait, she's not the professional though. That's someone else, right? Or is she the professional?
No, she is the professional. Yeah, I think that's
Okay, she's the
her
professional.
name.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's it. So I think they are doing remarkably well with her. It's just, I guess, we're not there yet to see her official stardom, but they're doing really well
Well, because she's
with
doing a lot of
Serena Deeb.
backstage stuff too. She's working with a lot of the girls backstage. A lot of the ones that are green, like I guess like maybe Ty
Mhm.
Conti and Anna Jay. She's from what I've understood, she's working a lot backstage with them, as well as Dustin is too, who has been known to be
Okay,
working with the women. So that's good. I mean, I think you can't
I'm
JLB's
not
a
a
Jade
Jade
hater.
hater.
Well, okay, but it's I really like where it's going. Sometimes it might seem confusing, but if you
Mhm.
really kind of sit down and see, or at least try to see what's going to go on in the future as far as the women's division is concerned, I think it's good. Um,
Okay. Okay.
but I mean, like just to comment on some of the other matches on Dynamite, the Texas Death Match was great.
Oh
Sometimes
my
hard.
God.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think sometimes hardcore matches could kind of be almost lost in the shuffle because it's kind of like, okay, when's the table spot coming? Okay, when's this coming? But if executed well, which this one was, I mean,
What happened to the top rope? When did that get cut?
I don't know. I think I turned my head quick. I turned back, and all of a sudden the rope was broken.
Yeah, me too. I was like, what's going on?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was an accident. I mean, it could have been an
Okay.
accident, but
Okay.
or something that was like set up where, let's say, they might have loosened up the top rope during the main event, so there was a spot that allowed the rope to break. But I know we're kind of going all over. We're not going chronologically on how the show ended, but obviously the promo with the inner circle I think was well done. So kind of the intrigue is there. What's going to
Mm.
go out?
Dan Lambert came out and they filmed. Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay, all
So
right.
that's what happened.
I like that too. I like Dan Lambert. His integration into the storylines. I kind of didn't understand it at first, but I like it. I mean, he cuts a great promo for a guy that's not. You can say he's not considered a wrestling guy.
Right. Or
I
yeah,
think,
really. I mean, he's a trainer for
yeah,
crying out loud. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
I think it's. I think for him just being a fan and being able to cut a pretty good promo, I think is
right.
good. Um, I mean, it's almost hard. It's almost like anything negative you could say about AEW is so short term because you know that they're going to turn it around. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm saying it. If you understand what I mean?
I mean I understand. I just think that's WWE's fault too, though, because WWE's product at the moment is really shit. It's like, well, at least we're getting good wrestling over at AEW. You know what I mean? And not to say that, not to downplay AEW's wrestling, because what we are seeing in AEW is phenomenal.
Yeah,
Um, but at the same time, when we're looking at something, you can't even put a proper show together for 3 hours or even 2 hours. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And then you look at another corporation, federation, who can do a rampage in an hour and still have you intrigued and still wanting more. You know what I mean? But you're also very content with that 1 hour that you do get, because it's not just glitz and glam. You're getting good wrestling matches, and they've really found their mark of, or I guess they're almost still kind of getting there, but found their mark of doing these little segment promos to kind of keep building either for the Rampage or for the next week's Dynamite. So I see them getting better at that, and it's wanting you to keep watching. So,
absolutely. And what I noticed too, is that you'll have a really really strong show, and then maybe the following week it's almost like they take you up to bring you down a little bit, and then
mhm,
to bring you back up again. So there, it's almost like it's leaving people to want more all the time, which is what you want to do when you're storytelling. You don't want to
right,
just throw. You don't want to throw all your cards on the. You don't want to put all your cards on the table immediately to the point where it's just like, oh shit, what do we do now? You know what I mean? So
right.
they're kind of like bringing you up, and I would expect maybe next week's Dynamite to kind of like go on your normal trajectory. You'll have maybe a Keith Lee promo and maybe him feuding with somebody and something. Obviously he'll come out and speak. Obviously there's anything with Malachi Black and Brody King is good. That's a really good tag team. I enjoy.
Mhm.
So I just like
You're
the
gonna
way
have the inner circle versus you're gonna have Jericho and Hager versus LAX or whatever,
there you
Proud and
go. Yeah.
Powerful.
So
You know,
well, there you go. Yeah. So it's just like I really like the way everything's planned out because it's taking you on a ride. It sounds shitty, like cheesy to say, but they're taking you on a ride where if you really follow where it's going, it seems it's intriguing to like, okay, what's going next? What's going to be next? And then that's what you want to do.
well,
You want to keep your eyes on the product, right?
that's it, and it's good writing, and you can't have us be shocked every week either, too, right?
Right.
Because if you are, we're just going to be expecting more and more and more and more and more, and to the point where it could be the best freaking show in the world, but we've been so spoiled that it's really not going to be great anymore, and they're never going to be able to top that. So it is good that they're doing that. So for instance, they didn't do anything with Moxley and Brian this week. You know what I mean? They're
That's
saving that for
that,
next
that's
week.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't mind. You know what I mean? Moxley in a tag match. Oh, damn, this hasn't happened. Now Brian can maybe talk. Hey, I saw you in that tag match. So how did that feel? You know what I mean? Da da da. You keep
Yeah.
going with that. So,
Yeah. And he could even lead up to other feuds afterwards where he could say, well, why did you team up with CM Punk, why didn't you team up with me, kind of thing.
mhm,
And it could be a feud afterwards with CM Punk and Brian Danielson, which is something that would be expected because they've feuded in the past in ROH. I mean, it leaves, there's different avenues they can go to that all make sense. You know what I mean? And it's really really interesting to see where it's going. But I mean, I don't know, was there anything else that really stood out for you from this week's Dynamite? That any
Well, I
specific
mean,
moments?
I mean, I mean, I think we generally covered the entire show though, so I'm trying to figure out what we didn't cover. But I mean, obviously Keith Lee coming out, cool that he still uses the limitless thing. So it's great to know that WWE didn't have it trademarked or something, and he can go on his merry way with Keith Lee as his name, and obviously WWE didn't get control of that. I know they were trying for a while, so really cool to just see Keith Lee do what he does, power bomb both the private. He had his own personal private party bomb. You know what I mean? Like that was
Yeah.
pretty badass. Um,
Well, one thing I
I'm
have to
curious.
point out that was actually
Mhm.
surprising. Sorry to cut you off.
No worries.
Wardlow actually had a decent match. Well, in a sense that it wasn't just a powerbomb fest.
Fair, yeah. There,
You know what I mean?
I think I didn't watch that match. I think I just didn't care. It was Wardlow versus who?
The Blade.
Oh, that's why I didn't care. Yeah.
No, but it was just it was almost like I kind of expected it to be like, oh, okay, wait, he's not wrestling a squash guy, so let's see how this
Right.
plays out. So I mean, granted, the match might have lasted what, let's say 8 minutes, give or take,
Okay.
but there was substance there. It wasn't just kick him in the gut, power bomb 10 times, 1, 2, 3,
Right.
and Sean Spears does something. You know what I mean? There was
Right.
something there, and it seemed and talking about Wardlow during the first segment, during that promo that JMJF did, it just
Mhm.
keeps you leading into when's he gonna turn? When's he gonna turn? When's he gonna turn?
That's it.
So yeah, that was
One person I
it,
gotta thank, Sean Spears. I was like, oh,
yeah,
MJF is awesome. Oh, just such like it's the same shit with him, but it's still always so fantastic because he adds just a bit more. He adds a bit more depthness to his trolling. You know what I mean? I
yeah,
love it.
yeah. And I like the fact that they've kind of steered away. I think you guys had spoken about it maybe a few weeks ago, where you were kind of fed up with the WWE references. It
Right.
seems like it hasn't been mentioned in a while, where it seems like it's more heat driven on both of the two wrestlers as opposed to your little stupid like WWE shots,
Right.
which is good. I mean, obviously you want to say it to get the pop out of the crowd, which is what fine, that's what they wanted and they got it, you know.
Mhm.
But that I mean, that's going to be a hell of a pay per view. Obviously, CM Punk's going to get his rematch. I don't know if it'll be at Revolution.
I imagine so.
I wouldn't put it at Revolution. I think I'd wait, let let it brew a little bit. This feud, let it drag on a little bit more.
But when's
To
Revolution? It's like in March, no?
It's in March. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Maybe March wouldn't be
I
a bad
mean,
thing, but
that's letting it brew for a hot minute. Like,
that's true. Yeah, that's true. I just don't. I wouldn't want them to rush it. You know.
no, that's fair.
Yeah, I wouldn't want
That's
them to
fair.
rush it.
But at the same time, I mean, yeah, but AEW does depend on the pay per view buys, so definitely put that. Most likely, it will be at the Revolution pay per view because they don't have their network yet, right? So I think to finalize that might be good. Um, I don't know what was it for the Keith Lee's tournament thing. That is for a shot at the TNT title.
I think the winner, the face of the revolution, I think it is. Yeah, it's a shot at the TNT title. Yeah. So I
At
remember
Revolution, I
when
guess. Okay.
I think the title. I think no. I think it's a future shot because I remember when Scorpio Sky won it first.
Mhm.
It was he wrestled Cody. I think there afterwards. So I think it was like a future title shot down the line. So I don't expect Sammy
Oh, okay.
to hold it on for that long. I think Darby might get it back eventually, or maybe who was it? The other guy was thinking. I can't remember who. His name escapes me. He was thinking about going after the TNT title. I can't remember. But anyway, it's. I mean, there's so many different. There you go. Yeah, TNT title shot. Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
thought. So I mean, there's so many different guys. I mean, you would think Miro eventually is going to come back.
Where
Is
is
he gonna?
Miro?
Could he feud with Keith Lee? I wouldn't mind seeing that.
I guess. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm really not a fan of Miro. I wouldn't mind. I certainly would like to see Keith versus Cole, Keith versus Guevara, which we probably will see. Uh, Keith versus Omega. You know what I mean? Keith versus Page. Like
I think,
I'm down to see. I
yeah,
think Keith versus anybody really. Like
I think
aside
bringing
from
Jay
Miro. Like I
White
don't know.
in, I
Mhm.
think bringing Jay White in would set up a rematch with him and Kenny because they had a match before Kenny went to AEW. Because I think
Oh, okay.
Jay White beat Kenny Omega for the IWGP title, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah, they were
before
mentioning that Kenny was going to be angry with Jay White, so that might be a
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
that would be a hell of a wrestling match because it's not just high spots you'll see with them. It's like just like really technical stuff, but fast paced. And putting those two guys together again on on US TV, I think would be really really good. Yeah,
That'd
it's
be
just
fire.
it's almost like I know we're kind of bouncing up back and forth, but it's almost like you get somewhat excited to see. Oh my god, any scenario you put together with whoever makes sense. Like if you're playing fantasy booking, like if we were to do
Mm.
that, it just makes sense because you have guys that know how to work, that makes sense working together, and maybe potentially bringing in someone else in, depending who it would be, obviously it would it's really like, even just like the mix of like Mercedes Martinez and Thunder Rosa I think is an interesting
Yeah, that'd be
feud.
fire. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
Hershey wasn't there, but I think she mostly shows up during Rampage because she's having a little thing with was it Thunder Rosa that she's having a thing with right now? No.
Mercedes Martinez. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Is it? Okay, yeah. So
yeah.
that, oh my God, when that comes into fruition, like take my money because that's gonna be, I can't wait for that. Like that's what I want to see. And I really think they gotta go after other women now too, though. Stop hiring men for now. Let the men breathe. Let them do the thing.
Yeah.
Hire some like known woman to like boost up your product a bit. Sure, you have Ruby. Everyone's happy, but at the same time, Ruby isn't that uh,
Well, she's kind.
enthusiastic.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I mean, if you compare Ruby Riot to Ruby Soho, I'll take over Ruby Soho any day.
For sure. For sure. Absolutely. I
I
think, yeah,
mean,
no doubt.
yeah, that's for sure. Obviously, she has to wrestle the right person. I mean, so that's why her and Britt Baker, I think, would be a great match. Um, I mean, you would think maybe if they would still kind of rekindle their partnership with Impact, or maybe someone leaving Impact, having Deonna Purrazzo over at AEW
Oh,
could be good.
please. Or even
You
Jordan
know,
Grace. Like, gimme,
yeah, I
gimme.
mean, yeah, that would be good. I know that would excite you too. I mean, you'd be very happy seeing those women. We all know how much you like Jordan Grace, Justin. But
She's fire though. She's pretty chill. She has a great Instagram account.
yeah, but yeah. I think the women. Yeah, I agree with
And
you
she
there. I
could
think
kick my ass. This girl's strong, man. She has like
that's
she could
true.
bench press like 500 pounds. Like she's a
So are you
beast.
are you are you trying to say that you want Jordan Grace to beat you up? Is that what you're trying to say?
I mean, in the right certain amount of context, sure.
Let's yeah, because I think I would see anyone from leaving Impact. If it was a woman that had to leave
Mhm.
anywhere, I don't think anyone from WWE. I think it would be Impact. It would make sense.
Yeah, I mean, even bringing in Mickey James for a bit, you know what I mean? Just to give that star name a little bit. But AEW is really keen on the indie stuff, the indie kind of people. Um,
Well,
but then again,
when Miro comes back, I mean, you would think CJ Perry's going to be there too. We all know as Lana.
does it really matter though? She doesn't wrestle. She can't wrestle.
No,
She's
I mean
as bad as wrestling as
if there's somewhere that she could learn.
Natalia.
Well, Natalia, I think, could wrestle. I
No,
mean, I
no,
think it's fair to
Natalia could
say that.
wrestle. That's fair.
But
Yeah, no,
if
that's
there's
that's. I'm
anywhere,
sorry, Natalia.
that CJ, if there's anywhere that's, who cares about Ember Moon? I mean, come on. But
Hey, hey, you. Ember Moon's great talent though. She would be a good time.
yeah,
No,
change her character.
CJ.
Give her
So
something new.
fair, fair. I don't want her to be the
Yeah,
werewolf in Paris. There,
no,
I don't mind, but she's great, great talent. I mean,
but
I'd rather see her than CJ. I mean, but you can't even
But
give the example of the school. Oh, but now AEW, she can learn. Bro, she could have learned as well in WWE. They have training camps everywhere. They have wrestling rings everywhere they go.
I don't think she got the opportunity to because she was just eye candy, and that's the problem. Is a lot of these, you know, women that they
That's a
bring in
valid
the
point too.
WWE, you know, it's just
Mia
eye
Yim's
candy. That's all
available
she
too.
was. That's
Yeah.
all she was. You know, I mean, she was just supposed to be there to be Miro's wow factor. Miro was the brute. He was the wrestler, and it's just like, hey, let's look at Lana. But they got rid of Miro. She wrestled a bit, but I don't think she got maybe basic training. Whereas now, especially if she works with people like Serena Deeb and Dustin, to really know, okay, hey, this is how you can put a match together, and it would make sense. You know, because yes, you
I,
might say you could, you know, you can say what you
I
want
don't
about
see it
the
happening.
performance center, but
Yeah, that's valid. But I don't see it happening though. I don't think she necessarily wants to wrestle those. So,
maybe not.
but she's very good with her model. Like, why would she? Because she has a very, I think she does like a very successful modeling thing too. So,
Yeah,
like, I
yeah.
don't. She's like, why am I gonna bust my chops doing all this wrestling thing? I'll just come in. I'll be Miro's manager again, like whatever. Because I think honestly, that's what Miro is missing. Miro is missing a mouthpiece.
He gives a
In
good
that
promo.
regard.
I think he does. I think he does a pretty like this whole thing as of the you know like
I'm done with
he's
him being God. Like I'm really done with that.
but you
God.
know you would never think you could say you could be tired of it, and I can understand that. But I mean, if you compare his promos to when he was in WWE, the guy could actually give a decent promo. You know, because yes, he has his accent, but he's not pretending to do an accent. Whereas
Right.
now it's just like he's just talking, and that's why the freedom that WWE gives these people, a lot of these wrestlers,
AEW.
where you can kind of see their character. Sorry, AEW, the freedom that they're given to hey, listen, I'm allowed to make a mistake too every now and then. Okay, calm down. But
It's valid.
it's the freedom that they're giving you see it because like even when he first came out and he gives his promos and the ones that he's giving now where he's angry, it just feeds the heel character that he has. I
Mhm.
think it's good. I think he's doing good.
Fair. All right. I mean, yeah, I am not a fan still, but I hope I get proven wrong in the coming weeks, and maybe I'm just looking for that good feud for him. And he's kind of just been in squash matches mostly, but not necessarily. He's had a few, but that's it. I don't know. Maybe he just hasn't had the right opponent yet. Give me Miro versus Daniel Bryan. Maybe that would help
Oh
me a
yeah,
bit. You know?
yeah, yeah. But I think it would make maybe. I mean, not now. I mean, maybe if Daniel would turn face, because I mean,
Right.
Miro. I would want to see Miro stay heel. First of all,
Okay. Yeah. He's pretty
I would
funny
want to.
though.
Sorry.
He's pretty funny. Like he could be like
No, I think he
comedic
works. He
character.
works as a heel. I think he
Okay.
just works his look and everything. He just works as a heel. You know. So yeah,
Yeah,
Lee.
it is. It's pretty dope. They already have it up on AEW Music on YouTube. It sounds good. I mean, it almost sounded very similar to, well, not very similar. It sounded a tad bit like his old theme from WWE, I guess, his most old recent theme, because there was a rap song in it, but
Hmm.
it was entirely made by the AEW
Was it Mikey
producer guy
Ruckus?
there. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to hearing like it's a private party with this new remix, but rapped by JLB. Like I mean, come on now. Let's
I've
be
been
honest with each other.
I've been trying to call Tony Khan. He won't call me back.
I mean,
According to certain news reports, he's going to be end up going for Congress in Florida,
oh really?
which ended up also being false, though. At least Tony Khan had mentioned that it was fake news or false. But then Casey had also mentioned to me that there was an inquiry on like the government's website of Tony Khan submitting something to Congress for him to be part of it. So
Yeah,
I
he's
don't know.
involved. He's involved in too much. That why would you want
Too
to go to
much.
that mess? I mean,
Yeah.
you're in charge of Fulham. FC, which is about to get promoted again. You're in charge of the Jacksonville Jaguars. You're in charge of AEW. Why would you want to give yourself the headache of being a rule maker for the United States? Stick with
Right.
what you're doing, Tony. I think he's doing well financially. I think it's obviously with his father's business as well too. So
That's it.
he
Okay,
said it's not him.
someone
Okay,
filled
yeah,
the form. Apparently said it's not him. So,
yeah,
there's probably plenty of Tony Khans out there. So,
yeah. It's. I mean, I was surprised. I almost, obviously it was teased on social media that it was going to be a surprise, a forbidden door, and everything. But I just did not expect this week's Dynamite to be that like wow. From, say what you want about the Jade match, but I think it was intended to be like that.
yeah, to give
I don't
people a
think it was.
breather.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to see her. You want to see her wrestle top talent when it makes sense on a pay per view or on a big Dynamite, like one of those like beach break shows that it's like really heavily advertised. You know,
Mhm.
so the fact that she wrestled like kind of like yes, it was someone making her debut. That's I don't know much about. Was it ADA or AV? I can't remember her name. The lady that she wrestled.
Something.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
But
Something. It was
yeah,
AQA or something. I really don't remember either.
AQA, yeah. It's better than Nikki A whatever Nikki
ASH.
ASH. That's stupid.
I mean,
But
granted, the Jade match was better than the Nikki Ash and Rhea Ripley match, and that's not
yeah,
necessarily doing anything to them. It's just more so because I don't care. You know what I mean? At least Jade is a defending champion.
yeah.
Um,
What,
yeah,
what
so I was
I
right.
AQA, okay, yeah. What I like about Jay too is like I remember she was on Talk is Jericho, and she just seems to
Right.
have like a really good attitude in general as a
Yes.
person. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? If you really listen to that podcast, that episode with Chris Jericho, she's someone that wants it, and she even said it. She's like, I don't need to do this. I'm rich because her husband is Brendan Phillips, who was a baseball player.
Oh
So
snap. Okay.
yeah, so I mean, which I didn't know. I mean, I saw that like obviously her husband was in the crowd, but I didn't recognize him right away that it was Brendan Phillips.
Right.
So she even said it. She's like, I don't need this, but she's doing it because she wants to do it, and that makes a difference between. That makes a huge difference,
For sure.
and especially someone that actually really shows and that cares about doing it, and that puts in the time and puts in the effort. That even she admitted during that podcast that she's still learning, she's still picking up
Right.
things here and there from people like Serena and other people backstage.
Daniel
So when
Bryan's
you
training her apparently. So
exactly, yeah. So when you hear things like that and just the availability that the women's division and even let's say younger men talent have on a backstage level where there's no agendas there, there's no
mhm.
agents trying to stab anyone in the back. They're there to really help the product grow, and it's just almost like, damn, what's next? It really keeps you like, what's going to happen next. I can't wait to see what's going to happen next.
No, that's fair, and I don't deny her heart or any of that. I think maybe it's her character that I'm just not a fan of, um, in that regard. But I mean, I don't know if it was in that same interview. She also mentioned Brian Brian Samuelson, according to Danhausen.
Oh, that's another guy. Here we go. I love
Right.
seeing Danhausen's stuff on Ethan Page's vlog. I think he's
Okay.
funny, but he has to be by himself.
Right.
I don't want to see him with best friends. I'm not saying I hate it, but I think Danhausen getting over properly. I
Just
think
by
he should
himself.
do things. Fine, he's aligning himself with them, but I think he has to do a lot of things by himself because he's a funny character and he's a comedy character that could get over easily and not get tired.
Exactly, and he's a merch seller for them. I think they originally put the Best Friends together because Best Friends is kind of like that goofy comedic club, and everyone's there. But too much of something is also not necessarily good as well. So, yeah, Danhausen's just a breath of fresh air. This guy's still all over Twitter though, doing his things, and
Yeah, his vlog too is funny when he calls the gun club ass boys. I think it's just funny.
so
It's like it's
apparently
just
he Danhausen did a preview of the Dynamite as well for
he
AEW
did,
Dynamite.
yeah. Where Alex Abrahantes thought he was talking to Dasha Gonzalez. Instead, it was Danhausen. Like he kept on referring to Dasha. He kept on referring to Danhausen as Dasha, even though Danhausen was speaking as himself. But it was funny, yeah. Had tanned with Orange Cassidy on the in. I mean tagged. Okay, Danhausen
Yeah.
doesn't look like he's very tanned, but yeah,
Yeah, definitely
uh,
not tense.
yeah,
Very Seamus looking, very
yeah. It's a because sometimes comedy wrestling could get tiring, very teamed. Yeah, it could get boring very fast. But I think this guy, properly booked, could make sense. I mean, you can have him appear on Dark. Let's not forget, Dark is still there. Dark is a good avenue
uh,
to get people to get like in ring shape and like kind of figure out stuff. Both Dark and Elevation. I mean, these are just they're great platforms for a lot of the younger talent. Maybe some of the guys where how we said earlier, wrestlers that have to get spaced out because there's so much talent, they don't have time on a 2 hour show.
right.
You know, I think
I
it
mean,
just
yeah,
comes.
I mean, I think at that rate too, man. Even like, I get why you're making the YouTube shows more for people who are amateur or not necessarily big stars yet. But man, at this rate, just start using those bigger guys on those shows now,
Yeah.
because you'll get people to watch first and foremost. Yeah, it's YouTube, but I'm sure you're getting some kind of money from YouTube anyways.
Oh well,
Uh,
Daniel Bryan, I think, wrestled a match
oh,
on Dark.
there's apparently a
There's a
special of
special
Dark
Thursday
tonight.
night Dark. Oh, okay.
Oh,
No, but see
yeah.
that these are. I mean,
Yep.
it's cool things. It's a cool way that people who maybe like I think you said it earlier just now, who haven't seen AEW to get a little sample of it. To figure, oh, okay, this is what it's about. Let me check it out on Wednesday or Friday night. It's
Right.
great. Really good.
It's and for instance, like my uncle hasn't been watching wrestling for quite a long time. Okay, like he
Right.
hasn't watched in years and years and years. He was over and he watched Raw. He was like, "Oh, okay," and then he's like, "God, this seems really like it hasn't changed, huh?" I'm like, "No, it's been garbage for a hot minute." And then he goes and watches AEW. He's like, "Okay, this is at least wrestling." He's not necessarily a fan of their promo work, but he loves the wrestling. He almost says like AEW has too much wrestling and WWE has too much
Promos.
promos.
Promos. Yeah.
He's like
Okay.
they each need their like middle. They need to find a common ground for both. And I'm like, okay,
That's a fair assessment. Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, yeah, that's for a guy who doesn't even watch wrestling for years and years kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I really took that and I'm like, yeah, I could agree with that, because at the same time, I think that's why we still maybe flock slightly to watch maybe WWE every so often, because they're the they're legendary, not legendary, they're used to putting on necessarily good promos. We're thinking of the Rocks, the Austins, the Mizes, the Jerichos, the you know what I mean, and the certain feuds that they had, the storytelling of it all. I think we're still hypnotized by what WWE can offer within those storytellings. And I think we're just kind of looking for that. So we're still maybe searching for that. If AEW has been doing good, but AEW has been a bit raw, which is also, and I mean that in the word raw, like just very
Yeah, I know
unscripted,
what you mean.
yeah, I'm just,
Yeah.
so, but it's a fair assessment when he had mentioned that. And I'm like, okay, I see what you mean there. And if I were to get maybe, well, I granted better WWE promos than what they are now. But if I were to get that same quality of WWE promo on an AEW with AEW's wrestling, I think you have the perfect storm.
I like what I like about AEW's promos is that they're not long and dragged out. Whereas I think a
Yes.
lot of WWE ones are, and like I speak to this fellow old man that we both know, who
Mm.
agrees with that sentiment. Where he said it to myself, he said it to me too. Is that it's like promos are just so long and drawn out. They're like, okay, get to the point. You know what I mean? Whereas AEW's promos are very short to the point. You know, so
Right.
yeah, I think a little bit more would make sense. You know, maybe a little bit more promo could not too much. You know, not don't drive away from the actual product. But yeah,
Right.
I think a little bit more promo because they have quality talent to give good promos. Just a little bit
Yep.
more of it, I think would be good. Sure.
Yeah, that's it. So, and then, so that was pretty much Dynamite. Apparently, there's a Dark tonight, so maybe I'll check that out.
Sure.
Um, yeah. So, I mean, aside from that, really, I honestly don't think I'm gonna watch Elimination Chamber. I really haven't been watching much Raw or Smack. I have been catching little highlights because I'm just not going to waste and spend my time anymore watching a full fledged show. I'll watch if I hear KO is on, I'll watch. If I hear Seth is on, I'll watch. But aside from that, I'm not here to see RK Bro and
Yeah.
Otis do a triathlon. You know what I mean? Like I'm good.
You know how I watch a lot of Raw and SmackDown lately? Snapchat has the top 10 moments of each show.
Snapchats?
And that's how I Yes, yes,
Really?
yes, you laugh, but it's true. Yeah,
Damn.
and
Okay.
it's almost like that's how you get it's almost like that's better than for me than watching the entire a 3 hour Raw or I think is SmackDown still 3 hours? Is it 3 hours or it's two?
No. SmackDown's 2 hours. SmackDown's two
Okay.
hours. Casey,
So
thank
so
you for listening, good sir. Enjoy. Of course, we could check out Raw and Order. All the links will be down below as well. Yeah. No, but
no,
it's
it's
2 hours. Thank God it's not 3 hours. I mean, granted, the only thing saving SmackDown is Roman in reality. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Because aside from that, I don't know.
Well, it's like I said earlier, WWE has moments of good, good moments. I mean, they do,
Mhm.
but it's just they're so
Right.
few and far between where you're kind of like, damn, like I'm just sick and tired of seeing the same old. They'll have really great moments leading up to one of their big pay per views, but then otherwise, like a kind of like a pay per view that no one really cares about.
Right.
It's almost like okay, I don't need to see Raw or SmackDown leading up to it. It's going to be the same old crap again. Same old
Exactly.
matches. Where it's almost like now you might want to pay attention a little bit more because it's WrestleMania. You know, Elimination Chamber. Like I said, I don't think I might just catch the main event just to see like, hey, what's going on? See
Yeah,
what's up.
maybe the chamber. I'll definitely probably catch the chamber just because it's still an
Yeah,
interesting matchup.
yeah, but that's it.
Or maybe I'll just catch Snapchat's top 10 moments of Elimination Chamber. I don't know yet. I'll find out. I'll see.
Yeah, you should. Yeah,
I gotta check that out. And yeah, that pretty much that honestly really pretty much sums up Raw and SmackDown. It was just a Rousey show
yeah.
on both ends. You had Roman do Roman, and yeah, and then Dynamite just giving us a killer of a show. When Keith Lee debuting, he's all elite now. Jay White, I don't think he's necessarily all elite, but he does. Yeah, I think it's a Bullet Club thing. Maybe we're seeing Kenny Omega going to come back soon. So that'd be kind of dope. And Kenny Omega could fit anywhere, man. Like,
I would think Jay White. I think yeah, Jay White's New Japan. Yeah, I don't think he'll be unless he's working his way into coming to AEW like full time. But
that's possible. That's possible.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, I definitely see him if he's there. It's because maybe Kenny Omega might turn face and
Mhm.
wrestle him, Jay White and Kenny. Yeah, that I see. That I definitely see happening.
Am I crazy or does Jay White kind of look like Adam Cole and they look like each other? Am I crazy? No, no.
I think more. I think you might be a little crazy. Yeah, that would
Okay.
make sense. I'm
Yeah, that's
kidding.
fine.
No, but they have similar look. No, I understand. They do have a similar look.
Okay.
But
But Jay White is technically more built, right?
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
obviously these procedures and all that, but he's
he's
definitely
a
more
he's
built
a
and taller.
he's a bigger guy for sure. Yeah.
That's probably one little thing they shouldn't have done. They shouldn't have made Adam Cole come to the ring after the match with Hangman Page. It just looked
I
weird.
didn't mind that. No, I didn't mind it because I mean, look, you have him there. You can't expect him to just be, part of the super elite and have him doing tag team stuff, and not just with the Young Bucks, but even with Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. I mean, you would think that.
Right.
I think eventually he might branch off, where Red Dragon will branch off from being associated with the elite,
Right.
you know, and it could also lead up to a feud with the elite and Red Dragon when Kenny comes back.
Right.
Although that's always a possibility where the Young Bucks might turn face. Where you kind of saw that when Hangman actually won the belt, when the Young Bucks didn't interfere when he
Right.
gave Kenny the buckshot, where you're kind of like, okay, like what's there was
What's
almost like
going
a
on here?
nod. Yeah. So I mean, there's things to think about. There's definitely things to think about.
Oh, I mean, Adam Cole and Hangman, I'm down for. I'm in. Take my money. But I just mean how they did it when they brought Kenny Omega into Jesus, Adam Cole into the ring. It just looked really weird because Adam Cole is very short, and they're I think they're building it. They put his height as like 5'10" or something, and I'm just like, bro, we know he's not 5'10". Like Hangman just towered over him, which looks great on Hangman, but it looks really weird for just the demographic of, well, how are you gonna beat Hangman Page kind of thing? We obviously know what he can do and what he's capable of. That's not an
Right.
issue. It looked weird in the sense of an intimidation tactic. You know what I
It's
mean?
okay. Yeah, it's okay. But another thing I have to say about Adam Cole, I like his BTE stuff.
I
His
don't watch any
interactions
of
with
these
the
things. I really have to start. Yeah.
you have to watch it. I think they're great, especially if you go back and watch some of the stuff where Brody Lee was there with the Dark
Okay.
Order stuff is hilarious. Like
Really? Okay.
it's really really good stuff. And
Okay.
now that he on BTE, Adam Cole's interacting a lot with John Silver and Alex Reynolds because they're like the crazy guys of the Dark Order, and it's just
Right.
great. It's fun. It's fun. It's fun stuff. I really really enjoy it.
Nice.
And that's another
Okay.
thing. That's another thing too is that BTE kind of, even though obviously it's not associated necessarily with, well, I mean it's associated with AEW, but in the sense that it's not
The
a
backstage pass.
continuation.
It's just, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it's also it gives you a very more lighthearted, exaggerated, but it's funny the way it's put together, and you see different
Mhm.
people coming in and out of it, and it's cool. I mean, I just like how everything comes together at AEW. It just makes sense. You know,
Yep, I'd definitely agree with that. I have to start. Everyone's been telling, oh, you got to check this out. Because they're like, what? They're 30 minutes long, no?
about 30 minutes, maybe sometimes about 40 every
Oh,
Monday.
God.
Every Monday there's a new episode. Yeah, but if you
Every
go back,
Monday. Okay.
yeah, if you go back and check like some of the Brody Lee stuff, I recommend start with that because it's good, really really good.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, fair enough. Every Monday. All right. But they're at like what? They're at like 200 now, no? Or something?
Oh, more than that.
More than that? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, if you
Okay.
if you start, well, because they've been doing BTE even before AEW. So
Oh, okay.
if you start looking at, let's say, BTE, I'd say maybe early 2000s, like Red Run Brody came in, because that was like a
Okay.
lot of the highlight of BTEs was when Brody Lee was doing stuff with the Dark Order. That was
Okay.
completely lighthearted, so it was completely different from his persona on TV.
Right.
That's what makes it entertaining, and it's really yeah, it's really really good.
Nice. So I'll definitely check that out. And yeah, I imagine they have all the episodes on YouTube anyways. So
Yeah, they're all on the
uh,
YouTube channel. Yeah.
nice. Perfect. And aside from that, any terms of wrestling news you hear about this week that
I mean,
kind of caught your
there's
eye?
always speculations or wrestlers getting upset with WWE or comments being made here and there. A lot of the times it's just rumors, so you kind of almost take it with a grain of salt. But I don't think
Mhm.
there's anything really in particular that stood out for me. I mean, I don't follow it maybe 100%, but at least as far as news is concerned, or like the dirt sheets as they would say.
Right.
But I mean, you always hear that in WWE there's like maybe some wrestler that's a little upset about his push, or I mean that's nothing new. That's something that's been going on for a while. But nothing really that stood out for me. No, I don't think there's anything that really crossed my mind. I don't know. What about you?
Um, So I just saw now. I mean, there really wasn't anything big per se, but there's rumors that apparently Shane isn't out of WWE.
Okay.
Uh, it was reported has been so Shane apparently was quietly let go, as we all heard, because of the Royal Rumble sitch. But it appears that Shane has still has some involvement with WWE, despite it being reported that he is out of the company. Marco Marco Masadi, who is the owner of South Africa's Sharks rugby team, wrote the following on Twitter. So grateful for a night out with brothers Shane McMahon, son of Vince, and Doug Sifu, owner of Florida Panthers. Excited for a partnership between WWE and rugby. Take that,
Hmm.
Tony Khan.
Are they trying to push WWE into the oceanic area, so like Australia and New Zealand?
I think
Is that what they're doing? You know.
that's what it looks like. And it doesn't look like Shane will return to WWE television. WWE's decided on replacement for him at WrestleMania 38. Okay. So, but whatever. I guess that's fine. I don't think Vince would, he would fire him as, hey, don't touch my product, don't do anything, but be a media guy. Get
Well,
my
if
product
you,
out there, give me some
yeah,
business, you know?
and if he were to be let go, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he just something happened backstage. I mean, it's not like it's never happened before where he's gotten into disagreements with Vince. I mean, he did leave for an extended
Leave.
period of time before. I mean,
Mhm.
is it that far fetched him leaving again? I don't think so.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
I
it.
don't think so.
But aside from that, that's all it looks like. Apparently, there's a little backlash with Lita. She's had certain outspoken comments about Saudi Arabia in the past. Uh, I don't care enough to read it right now, but I guess they weren't too bad if WWE is still bringing her and giving her a title shot. So, and obviously WWE's, I know obviously Goldberg. We didn't talk about Goldberg, and I was so happy we didn't for the entire show. I don't know why I brought
Mm.
it up. This is my bad. But Goldberg and Roman, um, obviously it's for Saudi Arabia. Whatever the prince wants, the prince will get. So Goldberg's
I
going to
mean,
be there.
what is WWE looking for? Are they looking to get free gasoline? Like, from is that the arrangement? Will they'll just get like gasoline from the Saudi Arabia, or like what are they? They must be getting a hell of a payday.
Oh, for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. So how much was the deal? The deal was like eight. I think it was like 100 million or something for
That sounds
some
about
odd
right. Yeah,
shows.
160 million.
160 million, and I guarantee you, there's probably even bonuses. Hey, I want this guy. Bring him in. I'll give you this kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Look,
Money is money is nothing for them. So
they draw a hell of a crowd when they do like their
yeah,
crown jewel stuff. They do draw a hell of a crowd. I mean, the stadium looks like it's packed all the time.
and it's a huge
Um,
stadium.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's the same business or the same family of that those Saudi billionaires that are buying up a bunch of sports teams around the world. I don't know if it's relative to them. I think it might be one of the richest families or something like that in Saudi Arabia.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
obviously, I'm sure that they're just throwing money anywhere that they can get in any business venture
Well,
they
and
can be a
and
part of.
it's been a thing since I think he's been in power. He's Bieber was in Saudi Arabia doing a show. I think Pitbull was there too, and a few other people. Like that's his whole thing of promoting Saudi Arabia and the Saudi Arabia culture to the rest of the world, sort of
Well,
ordeal.
I think there was some kind of controversy. I remember reading about that years ago, where it's like, how could the WWE be doing this when there's so many like inhumane things going on in that part of the world? Whether it's like women's rights, that's something that the WWE has always pushed as far as promotion.
Mhm.
During shows like women's rights, and they're pro women's rights, and you go look at you doing shows in Saudi Arabia, where unfortunately that's clearly not the case, where there aren't that many women's rights there. So
Right.
it always breaks the question of, okay, they're getting a hell of a payday for sure out of it. That's what it's
Well,
about.
I mean, it's about that, but at the same time, too, I think it's about sending a message to them as well. Like the first time they were there, no women were allowed to wrestle. The second time, they got a women's match with I think it was what's her name, Evans and Natalia. They did a match. So I mean, and progression is slowly happening, and I think any company being involved with that can't be a bad thing, while also getting a heck ton of money for it too. I never understood. I mean, I get why people would say that, but at the same time, if you can push the envelope into these countries a little bit further and a little bit more every time you go, eventually that's how maybe a certain law might be abolished, or it gives those people who want certain freedoms those examples of, hey, but you had this, was it really that bad, did you really need this, you know what I mean? It's just like WCW and New Japan going to
North
South
Korea.
Korea, North Korea,
North
excuse me,
Korea.
sorry,
North Korea. Yeah.
North Korea. I'm sorry, South
Yeah.
Korea, North Korea. You know what I mean? That was in Dark Side of the Ring. They explained that was hell for them when they were there, but they tried to do something. They tried to initiate some sort of change. You even had Muhammad Ali there, and so on. It didn't do anything, but it was worth a shot. Ended up being a tad bit of a flop, but that's ultimately North Korea, I would say, is maybe a bit different than Saudi Arabia. North Korea is a bit
Big
more
time. Yeah.
extreme, so it's apples to oranges there. And WCW took that opportunity, trying to do that in like '95. So I think these big name companies and stuff like that is good to try and make change. Whether it happens or not, who knows? But if you don't try and you just let them be and ignore them, I mean, then nothing is going to change either way. So I never got
Yeah.
that whole pushback on that. I mean, I don't, I'm not going to watch WWE product because it's the WWE product, and because it's at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
not.
We have to take into account the time difference.
That's it. It's 12 noon for us, I think. So,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I don't feel like, well, I think I work. It's a Saturday, so can't do it there. But even then, it's going to be a shit show because all the Saudi Arabia shows is just to appease those fans and whatever, but it doesn't really end up solving anything. I
But
don't
I
get how
mean,
you have a road to WrestleMania
yeah.
without a road being there, because this is not helping anything for anything.
Yeah. I mean, how big of a star is Goldberg in that part of the world to where, okay, let's see, he almost breaks Undertaker's neck. He has mediocre matches, and he's pretty much always had mediocre matches his entire career. Let's face it. I mean, you could say, I mean, not to go back too far, but his match with Hogan, which he's famously known for when he won the belt, I think Hogan carried him that entire way. You know what I
Mm.
mean? So it's like I was never high on Goldberg as a big star. It was more like the guy who came out, got his pop, and then it's like, okay, done. There was no, almost like little to no substance there. So he had his run. He did great. I mean, I'm not trying to trash him. I was a fan. I'm not gonna lie, but bringing him back all these amount of times, and it's just like, why? Is
It's
it really?
nostalgia. It's nostalgia and it's the pop. Because at the end of the day, if you're live in that crowd and you hear Goldberg's music and Goldberg is walking out from the back, you know what I mean? Are you going to be
Does he do a
chanting
sound
Goldberg?
like that exactly? Well, well, my question is that does he actually sound like that?
I don't know. He's more like, wow. He's like freaking just breathing heavy and doing something with his nose. But I mean, if you were in that crowd, would you not be chanting Goldberg? You hear the music, doom, doom. Do you know what I mean? It gets you going. It's a nostalgia trip in that regard, because everyone
I
loved hearing that music in WCW and so on.
I
So
would
that's
I
what
would
it is.
I would like to believe that it's a lot of, if you listen to what Kevin Nash has said in the past about Goldberg, where they had to pump in through his music the Goldberg chants. I think it's a lot of
Oh,
that.
really?
Now, I'm not trying to say. Yeah, he did say that. I mean, if you listen to a lot of Kevin Nash's interviews, he has
Mm.
said that it got to the point where he got so popular that people were chanting Goldberg sucks. So to kind of drone that out, they were pumping Goldberg chants through the PA, through the PA, through the
Oh,
speaker of his music. So I'm not trying to say no one's doing that in the crowd, but I think there is some of that going on too. I think so.
I mean, it's very possible, and WWE loves to pipe in sound. They did that especially for Rousey's thing. So,
Yeah, for sure.
uh, yeah, but that's essentially your news and your weekly recap of what went on in wrestling. AEW killed it. I hate to sound so pro AEW, and I don't mean to. I tried to be fair with what went on in WWE and so on and so forth. But I mean, aside from the KO match and the Seth Rollins promo, you didn't miss much.
Well,
You really didn't.
you're calling it. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're calling it like you see it. So
Mm,
whether someone listening to this seems like, oh, okay, those are just two guys that are pro AEW, we're calling it like we see it. At the end of the day, yes, it's our opinion. It's subjective. Now
of
you don't
course.
have to agree to us, but just look at it. Look at both shows. You can put someone who's completely neutral and null to anything to both programs and just say, okay, watch this program, watch the other one. Now tell me which one you were more entertained with. I would say
Right.
easily 8 times out of 10, someone's going to say that they prefer Dynamite over Raw or SmackDown.
Right. I would think so too. Yeah. Just
Yeah,
for the sake of, and if you, especially if you cut out the promos, if you
right.
cut out the promos, forget
But
about it.
just
AEW
overall,
hands down.
yeah. I mean, I think just overall, it's a complete package. It's a no
Yeah.
brainer.
I would think so too. I would think so too. It's just, I think it's also WWE's look, the cameras, the thing. Everyone is also just so used to how WWE gets produced that
Mm-hmm.
it's a different type of feeling, you know what I mean? Then of course AEW's. There's difference there, obviously with lighting and camera
And
work and
the
whatever have you.
announcers make a difference too. Believe it or not, I think the announcers
Yeah,
make a huge difference. I and first of all, you could say what you want. Oh, JR's old or Tony Schiavone's whatever. I'm not a big fan of Excalibur, but I think he announces pretty good. I think
yeah,
the fact that he wears a mask is stupid, but his announcing is good. The fact that you add Tony Schiavone in there, and these are people that are known, and
yeah.
JR,
Hmm.
I mean, I think that just makes sense. And then you have you'll have Jericho on Rampage every now and then. He comes out and he does a commentary, and you kind of have interactions with Taz. Taz is there. Taz is always good on commentary. Ricky
Right.
Starks, that's another guy we haven't mentioned today. I think Ricky Starks, and I think a Ricky Starks and Jay Lethal feud could be really, really interesting. But
Oh, give me, dude, that
yeah,
match was fire on
yeah,
Rampage.
yeah, absolutely. So the announcing, that's another thing too. I think it's something, an aspect that we don't, a lot of, let's say, wrestling talk doesn't happen, where you don't really talk about the announcing. But at the end of the
Right.
day, we're watching the show, you're listening to the announcers. And I think WWE's announcing is kind of this like, oh my god, you're over. Yes, they're trying. Their job is to oversell what's going on in the ring. I get it, but I'll take AEW. I don't care how old they are, but I'll take Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone any day over whoever the hell WWE has.
Yeah, it's very comical. I mean, I like Pat McAfee and I like Corey Graves, but at the end of the day, it's just it is a bit over exaggerating on some stuff. Like, guys, how do you expect me to believe this though? That you're believing this bullshit? You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a bit much, but I get it. It's PG, right? So it's a whole different thing altogether. Justin, you're old. What the hell do you know? I don't know. Perhaps I'm old. I'm not in that
Hey,
demographic.
if you're old, I'm ancient. Okay,
You're
because I'm
ancient,
older than
brother.
you.
You're
So
ancient.
yeah.
That's it. So us ancient old folks are gonna call it a wrap on this weekly recap for Wrestling Talk Now. Of course, we are here every Thursday talking about what the good, the bad, and the WWE about wrestling. Um, and hopefully, I'll have some co-hosts next week. And if not, I mean, Jeff is always welcome to come anytime he wants. Certainly saved
Thank
my
you.
butt this week. I thank you, good sir. And just in case they want to see what you're up to, where can they follow you?
You can follow me on Twitter at JT_9783. I kind of chime in a little bit on a variety of things, video games, which is another show we will do, Justin,
Yeah, we got to
eventually.
do
And
that
obviously,
quick.
a lot of news, a lot of stuff to talk about. That might be just as intense as this one, but yeah, you can follow me there. I mean, I haven't started my YouTube thing yet, but it's coming. The idea is there, and it's just a question of putting it into place.
One job. But yes, certainly follow him there. When he gets his, when you get your game stuff up and running, bet your butt I'll be promoting that as well. Hopefully you're good. Hopefully you're good. Hopefully you're a decent gamer. We shall see. We shall see. Um, and yeah, and of course, guys, you can follow me personally at JLB420 on Twitter. Real Talk Radio is the radio show podcast where I talk about a little bit of everything, movies, music, games, and whatnot. You can follow that at Real Talk Radio 8 on all platforms or at Real Talk Radio Online. Or if you want to just check out the podcast, anchor.fm/RTR, and you'll find all of the lovely little podcasts there, from the apples to the titles to the Podbeans. Don't go to Spotify because I'm off the Spotify bandwagon. Neil Young has convinced me. But yeah, you can follow me all there. All the links will be down below in the doobly doos. Of course, you can follow Wrestling Talk Now at wrestling at WTN Wrestling on all platforms. Again, links will be down below in the doobly doos. And that pretty much wraps it up. So thanks again, Jeff, for saving my behind tonight. It was a pleasure dishing the little wrestling dirt for this week. And as for you guys, thank you for watching, listening. Until next time, ciao for now. And we're still on because I can't close things properly. Ciao, guys. Have a good one.